and welcome back to my channel. It's me, Glynny. Look at the giant cactus, look at the plants, look at the greenery. So I'm in my parents' conservatory, and behind me is their beautiful garden, which is lovely because where I live I don't have a garden, so it's nice to be surrounded by nature. Now before we get started, make sure to subscribe, hit that notification bell, and check out my Instagram, It's Me Glynny. If you love Amsterdam, the Netherlands, I regularly post pictures of my travels there, and I'm also sharing with you my journey of moving to Amsterdam permanently. So check it out. It's me, Glynny, Insta. Now, in this video, I will be sharing with you some of what I believe you should be considering before moving to the Netherlands. Now, I currently live in the UK, so this is relevant to me and, you know, my opinions. And as always, everybody has their own opinions and advice, which is amazing because you can never have too much advice. But I wanted to share with you what I believe you should be considering before moving. Now, whenever doing anything like major, like moving to another country, you want to try and set yourself up for success, right? Now, I see a lot of people in these expat Facebook groups, and what they're doing is they're moving and they haven't researched health insurance, they haven't researched banks, they're not aware of how to register for the BSN, they weren't aware of, you know, the house prices, rental prices. So that kind of like made me think, actually, do you know what? I've done a lot of research and I want to share this, and I want to share this with you guys. So what we'll be going through today is 5 things to consider before moving to the Netherlands. Now, the first point is, in my opinion, the biggest. Do you have a right to live and work in the Netherlands? I mean, I'm from the UK, so I'm still classed as a UK citizen right now. And if you are a UK citizen, an EU citizen right now, and if you are an EU citizen, you are freely able to move between any other EU country without the need to apply for visas or anything like that. So right now, I can move freely. Now, if you do have the right, you know, if you're an EU citizen, now all you need to do is once you get to Amsterdam, you need to register with a GMT and obtain your BSN. Which, if like in the UK, it's like a national insurance number. Without your BSN, you can't open a bank, you can't get health insurance, you can't get a job, you can't register with doctors. So really, you need to get this BSN before you can, you know, live and work in the Netherlands. Now, if you don't have the right to move freely, you're outside the EU, then I would suggest going and checking out I Am Amsterdam, the Dutch government website for information on obtaining visas and sponsors. Now, for me, being from the UK, Brexit is a huge consideration. Brexit! So as it stands at the moment, I can move freely up until the 31st of December 2020, this year, during the transition period. Now, if I do move, get my BSN, register before that date, then I am allowed to stay and continue to work after the transition period is ended. I will just need to apply for a 5-year temporary residence permit and have a biometrics. Now, that all needs to be completed before the 30th of June 2021, but the IND will be contacting me regarding that. So that's the first point. You really need to consider, can you live and work there freely? Second point to consider is living and renting. So I think it's important to understand and research where you want to live in the Netherlands, and specifically what districts and towns that you want to live with, because there are so many different things. So the first thing is housing, availability. So for example, in Amsterdam, the housing market is very fast paced, rentals go very quick, and this is due to a housing shortage. So you need to be thinking about where you want to live and can you get a property. Costs, this is major. You need to research the rental costs and what your budget will allow for the type of property you want. A typical 1 bed in the centre of Amsterdam will average anything from around €1,500 upwards a month, and that's just your rent. Deposits, they vary from 1 to 3 months, so you need to consider that in your budget. So you really need to look at where you want to live and if your budget will allow for it. Another part about where you live is the job market. So if you choose to live in a, you know, a specific area, is there a high demand of work in that area for you, for the field that you expertise in? If not, are you willing to travel? Are you willing to travel? So you need to think about that. If you have children, you need to think about schools, your local schools, and what works for you. So really, housing and living is a major factor on where you decide to live and how that can affect you. You know, the third point, you need to think about tax. Tax, so income tax. Now, this depends on the level of income you earn, but the lowest tax bracket that you are going to get is 36.65%, and the highest is 51.75%. Now, in the UK, it's around 22%, so the tax is a lot higher. So I need to think about, actually, I'm going to be paying more tax. Can I afford to do that? If you are a highly skilled migrant, you may be able to get the 30% tax ruling, which, you know, is going to save you some money. If you're a homeowner, you will be taxed yearly on your real estate, which is something I'd never heard of. I'm a homeowner in the UK. I don't pay tax on that. So you need to think about the tax and all the extra tax that you may get. Healthcare. Now, this is a major point to consider. In the Netherlands, it's compulsory by law that you have health insurance. Basic insurance will cost you, you know, it starts from around €100 a month per person. So you need to, and that's, you know what, it's set by the government, so you need to factor that into your budget. That's another extra cost that you might not have in your country that you reside in now. We don't have it in the UK. You know, if you don't pay for insurance, you'll get fined, so it is compulsory. You have to do it. Now, there is a good thing, so the insurance companies cannot discriminate you for pre-existing conditions, which is a real positive, so they won't hike your price up because you've got a pre-existing condition. But what you do need to think about is, if you have got a pre-existing condition, are you going to get the same level of care? So, in the UK, if you're diabetic, you're not required to pay for any of your medicine. You don't pay. It's free because you're diabetic. Do you get that in the Netherlands? If not, you've got to factor that cost in. I mean, you do have an excess with your insurance, from what I've researched, is that you have to pay the first €400 towards any of your medical expenses each year. So if you're regularly on medication, you've got to factor in €400 a year. That's another consideration. And finally, learning the Dutch language. You need to consider learning the Dutch language, especially if you're not living in a large, you know, tourist city with a multitude of different languages and cultures, like Amsterdam. A lot of people just speak English in Amsterdam. It may improve your job prospects and not limit you to roles of your native language. You know, so it will assist maybe in some legal documentation. So what I've understood is a lot of mortgages are done in Dutch. You may be able to get some English ones, but from what I've read, they're in Dutch, so you want to be able to read that mortgage document. It's a big thing. Do you know what I mean? So learning the language can help you in so many ways. Now, finally, a few other points for me to consider. You know, just a few little points is leaving family and friends. How is that going to make you feel? The impact on your career. Are you in a great job that you won't be able to continue in the Netherlands? Are your skills transferable? Can you afford to make that move? Realistically, can you afford to make the move and pay the costs of the Netherlands? You know, and just finding the differences in culture. Are you going to be able to adjust? Who knows? Nobody knows until you do it. And that's what's so great. And that's what's so exciting. So they're just a few of my points to consider now. As my channel progresses, and as I do more and more towards moving, I will be sharing more of that journey with you. And once I've finally moved to the Netherlands, I will be sharing with you my new life in the Netherlands. So make sure you do subscribe, stick around, give this video a like, and share with the world.